Hi and welcome to the Grianaig Creations podcast. My name is Kirsty. This is episode 41 and yeah, I got that a wee bit out of order, but we're just going to keep going because I can't keep re-recording the same 5 seconds over and over and over again. So yeah, as I said, this is the Grianaig Creations podcast. We are on to episode 41. Whether you've been with me from the start or you're just tuning in, welcome. And I'm coming to you from the west coast of Scotland, United Kingdom. You may or may not be able to tell from my accent, because I have been told that by the majority of people I do sound Scottish, but by some people they seem to think I am American. I am 100% Scottish, and just depends on how you hear the accent, I guess. But that's not the point. This is a knitting and crochet podcast and general all-round crafty podcast. Sometimes there's some spinning and some sewing involved as well. So yeah, welcome back. I was trying to get a podcast out every 2 weeks, but that hasn't quite happened for the last month. No particular reason for it, just busy life, busy schedules. So yeah, we'll jump straight in. I have, if I remember to lift everything, a few finished objects to show off. So the first one I'm going to show off is, and of course being the typical me, there's ends still to be woven in and everything. So the first one I'm going to show off is the Regia Perfect socks. I'm glad they're finished, let's put it that way. I will probably never use this yarn again in my life because it was hell to work with. I don't know if that's the same experience for other knitters or other experienced sock knitters, but there's a lot of unnecessary cutting of the yarn and rejoining, and it was just in general doing my head in. And then they really, considering the way it's done, you get a really long cuff and then you get quite a short amount for the foot. So these are actually for my mum because I ran out of yarn for at least my foot length. I have quite large feet for a woman, and I would have had to have cut my cuff short, the leg short, to get the length I needed on the foot. So these are for my mum. There are two. And given my experience with this one, at least, I don't think I will ever use this style of yarn again. I love Regia. I like Arnie and Carlos. I don't like the Regia Arnie and Carlos Perfect. So yeah, that's these socks. So these are from my mum. Now that I've shown them off in the podcast, she can actually receive them because I've had these finished for a couple of weeks now, and they were just waiting to be put on the podcast or put on my Instagram, and of course I didn't get around to either of those until now. So that's one finished object. The second finished object is another pair of socks. And this is the Caledonia Dye Works socks. Now, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you might notice there is a bit of a difference on these. I still have stitch markers in them. So on this sock here, the colour goes blue, purple, green. But then on this sock, it goes blue, green, purple. And that's just because I didn't split my cake into 2 cakes, and I worked these 2 at a time until about here, and then I stopped working them 2 at a time and I worked 1 at a time, in tandem though, and I couldn't be bothered making 2 cakes, so I worked from the same cake. So I worked 1 from one end and 1 from the other. So just ordinary vanilla pair of socks. I worked the heel flap and gusset. I don't mind doing a heel flap and gusset. I just find it a lot slower than, say, the Afterthought heel or the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I feel like it just eats into my knitting time, and it does throw off, especially if you're doing stripes, it throws off your stripes, which doesn't really bother me for this sock at least. So yeah, for convenience, my preference would be the Afterthought heel. And you might think that's a bit odd, considering it's not really convenient to have to cut your yarn or put in waste yarn and then figure out where to put your heel in and so on and so forth. But I just feel like the heel flap and gusset just takes so long for me to do, at least. Other people might not agree with that and might think it's the easiest heel out of the lot. So yeah, these are going to be the next set of socks I wear, albeit I do have to weave in some ends and remove some stitch markers because there's markers on both sides. So I done these cuff down, started 2 at a time, then went back to working 1 at a time but in tandem. So I'd work to the heel, then I'd work to the heel in the next one, then I'd do the heel, then I'd do the heel, so on and so forth. And then I done a Kitchener toe. I just do the standard wedge toe, and yeah, 2 socks. Well, pair of socks, 2 socks, whatever you want to say. The next finished object, of course, still obviously has ends to be woven in as well. But I'm going to hide that seam because that's a horrible seam. I done a brioche, 2-colour brioche cowl. I just had some yarn, some iron weight yarn to use up. If you had like a thinner neck or head, my ponytail. So yeah, I look like I have no neck now. Totally just messed up my wee ponytail. Oh well, you guys can have a wee giggle at that. So yeah, I just really wanted to do brioche. So the yarn for this, it's just acrylic yarn. There's nothing special about it. I got this in one of our local shops, and my wanting behind it was I wanted to do something with either cables or brioche. So this actually started as a cabled hat in the cream, I think. I think I started it in the cream because I felt like cables in the grey would get lost. And I think I really wasn't enjoying the gauge that I was getting. Now, I don't gauge swatch for anything, but I felt like because this was iron weight and they wanted it knit on like 4 or 4.5mm needles, that it was just, the needles were too small for the weight of yarn. So I ended up frogging the hat, and then I just cast on a random amount of stitches that obviously works for brioche, and then I just worked until I ran out of yarn. Now, I was on a virtual knit night, or for me it was a virtual knit day at the time, and I ran out of yarn as I was finishing off this cowl. And I literally had, I think it was 3 stitches to go, and I was not going to get them done because I ran out of the cream yarn. I got 3 balls of each colour when I bought this. I could have gone into another ball to get those 3 stitches, but why would I do something like that? Why would I get enough yarn for 3 stitches? So I listened to one of the ladies on the knit night, I think it was Natalie, and I tinked back nearly the entire row and just tightened up my stitches ever so slightly. And then I re-knit everything and I had enough yarn. So much so that I actually had this much left over. So it just goes to show that sometimes your gauge can work totally against you on the pattern. And I was keeping the gauge quite loose because obviously it's brioche and I'm normally quite a tight knitter. But I kept it a wee bit loose for this project, and I'm glad I did because it's very squidgy, it's very bouncy fabric, and it'll do someone really nice this winter because this is going into my what's the word, presents box or gift box, whichever you want to call it. I've been hiding this on the camera because this seam is actually god awful. It's more down here, so this is my beginning and end row seam, and I got better, and then ever so slightly I would kind of slip up like there and here. But yeah, my start seam is absolutely atrocious and looks worse than the other side. So yeah, that will always be worn at the back. And hopefully whoever receives this doesn't care. So yeah, it'll keep someone nice and warm. So that's my third finished project. And then I have one more to go. The story behind this project is, well, the story behind getting this project finished was I was tidying up my room at the weekend, and I pulled out all my whips, all my project bags that have a whip in them, pulled them all out, put them on my bed. I had 8 bags. I actually had 10, but 2 are definitely going to the frog pond because one of them I took the needles out of the project and put just a random set of needles back on to hold the stitches. Forgot what needles I had on it. And also I just don't like the look of the project. It didn't knit up how I thought it was going to do. And then the other project, I really just don't like the pattern I was using. It was meant to be like a neckerchief, but the pattern doesn't explain how to put in the buttonhole and then how to finish off and bind off your stitches, which I think is really bizarre. And that was in a magazine. I'm not naming names, I'm not pointing fingers, but I just found it really bizarre that a pattern in a well-established magazine didn't have the finishing techniques required to, you know, finish your project. So I like how it's knitting up, I like the look of the project, but given the fact I'm not sure how to put the buttonhole in because it's going to be at an angle, so given the fact I don't know how to put the buttonhole in and I don't know how to finish it off, I'm just going to frog it, which is a shame because I really liked the idea of just a really nice small neckerchief. So those are 2 projects going in the frog pond. That left me with 8 project bags. Out of those 8 project bags, 2 are for the same project. So, albeit this bag is now empty. Well, I say empty. It's got the next 2 minis that I'm going to be using. I'm kind of going between half-finished projects and whips and finished projects. But yeah, out of the 2 project bags, out of the 8... Wow, I'll start again. Out of the 8 project bags, 2 are for the same project. So these will be shown later on. And then I had other project bags full of things. So, this one is the Burlesque Shawl. Yeah, Burlesque Shawl. I thought so. I fell in love with this because it is a 2-colour shawl. There's garter, which I love because I really am not the biggest fan of purling. And yet there's still some really nice lace detail in the shawl. So I started this a long time ago. And I say a long time ago, I need to look back at my older podcast to see when I did start this. And this was with yarn I bought 2 years ago in Loop in London. And it's 100% alpaca. Do I have the project bag? No, I don't. so I can't show you the labels for the yarn. But this is what it looks like. So let's do this to show off. It's curling up because it still needs blocked, but you can see the colours, and then you can see some of the lacework. Again, it needs blocked to show its true beauty. And I couldn't wait for this shawl to be off the needles because I had to bind this off 3 times. First time I was binding it off, and I was binding it off in pattern, so it asks for a picot bind off, and I got about, I'd say about that much done, and then I looked at the yarn and I was like, there's no way I'm going to have enough yarn to finish the picot bind off. So then I thought, right, okay, I will do a modified version of the stretchy bind off. And my modification for that is, instead of doing a yarn over, knit one, yarn over, knit the next one, slip the yarn over, slip the first stitch, and repeat all the way down. I do knit one, yarn over, knit the next one, slip the yarn over, slip the first stitch, knit another one, slip the first stitch, then do a yarn over. So I do a yarn over on every other stitch. And I got all the way, I got from here all the way to here before running out of yarn. So that's 2 bind offs. So then I decided I didn't want to waste all that purple, so I put in another knit row, and then I decided I was going to bind off in the blue. Now I was torn, do I bind off in picot or do I bind off with my modified stretchy bind off? Eventually the modified stretchy bind off won because I'd already tried to bind off twice. I didn't want to then weigh myself down with the picot bind off as well. So the way it worked out, I was on the wrong side row, wrong sew as I was trying to say, the wrong side row, and I done my modified stretchy bind off. So you can see, I hope, that the bind off just looks a bit interesting, and I like it. I actually really like it. It's very different in my eyes. I'm hoping you can see this okay. So you can still see a wee bit of the purple coming through. On the wrong side it looks fine, like you don't see anything, but I like how it looks on the right side. I think it just looks quirky and different. So that's the shawl finally done and off the needles. It's going to be so nice and warm because it's alpaca, but it turns out I'm not the biggest fan of alpaca around my neck. I found it just a wee bit stabby because obviously it's got quite the halo. I don't think you're going to see it. So this is also going to go into my present box, which is a shame, but I'm sure somebody will love it. And the lace will block out and look really good. So that's my last finished object. So I will block it, I will weave in all the ends because there is quite a few because of the stripes and all my mishaps with trying to bind off, and that will be done. So that's my last finished object. And then I have, that will leave me with my crochet blanket, which I'm going to talk about next, 2 cowls, a hat and 2 jumpers. Those are going to be my works in progress. So first up, this is new to the podcast, but if you follow me on my Instagram, which I will leave a link down below, I started a granny square blanket. It's not huge, but it's certainly not small either. It's growing every day. And I am currently using up my opal mini balls that I got for my advent calendar last year. This is an advent calendar I bought at the Yarn Cake in Glasgow. It wasn't exclusive to the Yarn Cake. It was just the only place I could get it without having to pay shipping. And I don't have all 24 because I gave some to my mum for her knitting group. But I do have quite a few still. So this is it. I love the colour. I love how bright and vibrant it is. And yet it's still a mixture between bright colours and darker colours. I did change my stitch up. I say halfway through. It's not really halfway through. So originally for here, I was doing a chain 2 between each cluster, shall we put it. And then it got to about here. And I stopped putting the chain 2 in, and I like the fabric a lot better. It's a lot closer together. I feel it's a lot neater as well. It looks like a true granny square blanket, granny straight blanket if I do it this way. It's not as holey. It's going to hopefully be a wee bit warmer as well. So yeah, I preferred it ever since I made the change. But I don't know, it's still going to annoy me that it's a wee bit more gapey in the middle, but there's no chance I'm going to rip back just to fix that. So yeah, I'm working my way through. I've got all my minis in here, so that's why it's a two project bag project. And I've chucked in a few extras that I'm going to put into it. So I've got these. These are bigger than the mini skeins. So these are 15 grams. So let's see, 15 grams, which is 63 meters. Whereas these are 25 grams and 105 meters. So I'm probably going to chuck them in. But they're a lot softer than than these ones. But this is Regia and this is Opal. These are my first Regia. I think these are all from that range. Yeah, they're all the Baby Smiles My First Regia. So I've got those to put in the blanket. I've still got, let's see, 5, 6. I've still got 6 opals to put in. And then I'm also going to put in my other Advent minis. So these are all 10 grams from the Vicky Brown Advent calendar from last year. And I have started putting them into the one ball. So I've just done quite a, like one of those really, like, you would probably be annoyed if you found it in a skein. I've just tied them together. I've not done anything particular. I've not done a spit splice or like an invisible joint. I've not done any of that. I've literally just tied them together and then kept winding. My plan is to get them all into one ball and then work from that, rather than having to ball up each one individually as I come to it. So I've still got a few more to do to put into the pile, and then once that's done it should be a wee bit easier to work on. But for now I'm just finishing up the opal balls that I have. And then I don't know whether I'll put in the regia, or at least maybe put in the solid colours. Maybe put in the variegated or the semi-solid, like whatever you want to call these. Put those ones in first, and then put these ones in to kind of block it out. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think I should do? I'm curious to see how big I can get it with just the opal, but I don't want it to be big enough. I don't want it to be like a bed throw or anything. I want to be able to put it on the back of a sofa. It's going to be the first blanket I make for Scott and I moving in together, which isn't happening anytime soon. But it's going to be the first blanket we have for the house, so it's going to go on the back of our sofa so that we can throw it over the two of us. So it needs to be big enough to go over both people's laps. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had more of these and then I could have it all opal. I'm kind of kicking myself that I gave some away before I got this project started. But that's life, isn't it? You don't really think about things before, or at least I don't really think something through, and then because it was being given away for a knitting group, I felt like I was doing a good deed, so I didn't really think about it too much. Such is life. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think I should finish off the opals and then chuck in the regia and then work on to the hand-dyed, or do you think I should keep the hand-dyed separately and put that as its own blanket? I don't know, there's so many choices. So let me know what you think in the comments below. So that's one project that's being worked on. The other project, I can only show you so much of this. And it's just because it's one of my designs. I started this a while ago. And it then just got put in a bag. And I don't know, I didn't really forget about it. I just didn't really pick it up. And I'm not sure why. But I've started a project, a colour work project. It's a hat. And it's being knit in West Yorkshire Spinners Blueface Leicester DK. I love this yarn. Love it, love it, love it. I need more of this. I'm running out. This is the only skein I have. So I might need to rethink this, but it will be a good test for seeing, oh shoot, I said shoot, not the other word. There's my stitch marker. I dropped a stitch and my stitch marker. Right, it's okay. Saved. So I love this colour combination. I think it's brilliant. I think it's high contrast. I love it. And I can't wait to see how this works out. But I do think I was maybe a wee bit too generous on the ribbing. If I'd maybe gone down, let's see. It's a 2-inch rib. So if I'd maybe only done an inch, I might have had a wee bit more yarn to play with, but it's just a test. It's just to see how the pattern works out. And I'm liking it so far. I'm actually loving this project. I haven't done colour work in a while, and it's just kind of reignited this spark that's been sitting in the background. Just kind of sitting and going, yeah, she'll come back to me eventually. So now it's kind of going, woo, colour work. And loving it. I can't wait to get this finished. Can't wait to wear it. Can't wait to let you guys see it as a finished pattern. And yeah, that's my hat. And then I'm not going to show off the two jumpers, but for anyone interested, the first one is the Sunset Highway sweater. Yes, that sweater. For anyone that has been a long-term standing viewer since last year, that sweater. Still not finished. I haven't touched it. I don't think I've touched it at all this year. That's really bad. But yeah. There's not really much more I can say on that. The other sweater is the Humulus sweater by, I knew the name until I said by, Sunset Highways by Caitlin Hunter. Isabel Kramer, that's it. So the Humulus sweater is by Isabel Kramer. And I put an inch on my Humulus, on the body of the Humulus at the start of the week. And I really want to get it finished because I think it would be amazing to wear this winter. Because it's cold, in case you can't tell, because the fact that I'm wearing a onesie to do this podcast. I just want it to be a wee bit different. So the Humulus sweater has had an inch put on it. And the Sunset Highway hasn't been touched. So I'm just having this big kick of my whips. I'm trying to get them down. But another whip that has been receiving some love is the Capelet design by the wonderful Rosie of Pixel Atlantis. So let me show you the picture. So this is the Sirena Capelet by Rosie of Pixel Atlantis, and the yarn is Pixel Atlantis as well. Should have the ball band. There we go. So this is the Lime Sorbet in the Twirled 4-ply base. And Lime Sorbet. There you go. So I think I put about a good 2, maybe 3 inches on that. I think it was at least 3 repeats that I've put on it since I'd say in the last week. Which I think is pretty good. There's quite a bit of purling in here and I really don't like purling. But I do like this pattern. I love the colour of the yarn. I can't wait to wear it. I think it will look really good. We'll put it that way. Yeah, I think this will look lovely and it'd be quite nice to have on in my work because it can get a wee bit chilly. It's either, my work is one of 2 ways. It's either boiling or chilly. I don't think I've ever really been freezing in my work. But yeah, it's either boiling or just a wee bit chilly. So even if it was really, really warm, I don't think I would like be pure sweating wearing it. But I think it would be just enough to keep me nice. And then the other project is the beautiful pattern by my friend Jen. I'm just unfolding this. So you can get this on Ravelry now, just like you can get the oh sorry, I did like you can get the Sirena Capelet on Ravelry as well. Rosie launched that for the Perth Festival of Yarn. I got it on the day with the yarn and I love it. It's brilliant. What sold it to me was the way she was wearing it on the day. And it was so that it was a V at the front instead of kind of off the shoulder. And that really sold it to me. So if you can find a picture of Rosie from Perth Festival of Yarn this year, you'll see what I mean by the style that she wore it. It was really, really good. But this project, this other cowl that I'm working on, is the Zig Zag Ridges cowl. I'm not going to show too much because this is the pattern. So yeah, that's the Zig Zag Ridges cowl by my friend Jen. And I was originally test knitting this and she knew I had to stop. I told her, but I had to stop working on this because of my shoulder. But this is the, oh, I'm not giving myself enough yarn and my cables are kind of playing Silly buggers. So this is it. So you can see the zigzags. And then it's plain on the back. And this is one of my yarns that I dyed. And it's going to look so nice when it's finished. And I'm going to put a lot more into this. So this is, oh, I'd say once blocked, it's about 4 inches. So I want to make it a really, not hugely long, but I want to put it enough so that with the fabric itself, because this is the BFL base, so it's quite a drapey fabric, and I think it would look amazing kind of scrunched up on itself. So yeah, that's going to look really good when it's finished, and I just love that colour as well. It's really, really nice. So yeah, there's the zigzags. And yeah, it's a beautifully soft yarn. I love the colour. Turquoise is one of my favourite colours, and it matches the needles. So what needles are those again? Using the Knitpo Royales. So there's pure gorgeous wood with a wee metal tip as well. Quite like that. So yeah, that's my last project. So I'm trying to work through all my whips, and I'm trying to get them down before I cast on anything else. I don't have any socks cast on at the moment, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I quite like having a pair of vanilla socks, especially for when I'm at work, to work on my lunch break or in the morning before I start my work. And as I was saying to my friend Aileen today, little bush baby, I want to cast on a new pair just so that I can shove them in my bag and carry them with me, but I feel like if I cast on a new pair, I'll focus on those rather than these languishing whips. But I can't take any of these anywhere without focusing on them even just a little bit. So even my crochet blanket, I feel like I have to focus on, because I can't crochet without looking. I can knit without looking, but I can't crochet without looking. And then for the likes of this and the capelet and my hat, those are all patterns. They've got a pattern that needs to be followed. So I need to focus on that. And then with the jumpers, they're too big to really, they're not travel projects, put it that way. They're not easily portable because the bags are big, the projects are big. And do you see my dilemma? I want to cast on socks, but I don't want to cast on anything new. And I also don't want to be caught up in a new project when I have so many old projects. So yeah, that's my dilemma. It's a really, you know, not serious dilemma. It's a first world knitter problem, but it's still annoying me. So I want to try and get some of these off the needles. And then I'd say because I got the shawl finished, that was one of my old projects, because I got the shawl finished, and then hopefully I can get the hat finished. I think after I get that finished and then start working on the third one, I will feel more okay with casting on some socks. But at least this is going to be a long-term project. So I'm not going to get that finished anytime soon. And then the jumpers, I don't really want to I don't want to rush them just to get them finished, because I feel like I'm going to throw off my gauge. And especially on the Sunset Highway, which is on knitting 4-ply. And then my Humulus is done in kind of like a mix between, somewhere between DK and Aran. I guess you call that sport weight. Or chunky. I don't know. I can't remember now. But yeah, so that's my dilemma. Do I cast on socks or do I not cast on socks, basically? And then my other dilemma is, do I put this into my blanket or do I not put this into my blanket? So yeah. Shop update. Let's talk about that. So I designed a new bag. Some of these are available in my Etsy shop. They're mostly only available in the Harry Potter fabric because I haven't sewn anything recently because I got my second steroid injection in my shoulder. So I'm resting my shoulder. But yeah, I designed a new bag and I love this bag style. So it looks quite small and petite. It's got a bit of a box bottom by the looks of it, and it's got a zip in the front. It curves, but then when you open it all out fully, it becomes this massive bag. So it's got fully box bottom. I'll take out my case. So basically everything that's in here so far, I had 2 socks, 2 at a time socks. I've still got quite a sizable cake. 3 sets of needles, 2 9-inch circs, and then some, oh god, that word totally escaped me, magic loop. And I also had this in the bag as well. So let's show this to you. So you've got 2 socks, 1 cake, 3 sets of needles, and my tin. I'm gonna try and do this as best I can so that you can see that I'm not hiding anything. So it folds up really small, and then when you open it out, it's like a Mary Poppins bag because it's just huge. So I love this style of bag, and so far anyone that's seen it has given very positive feedback. Anyone that's bought one's given very positive feedback as well. And as soon as I feel up to sewing, I will be making a bunch more and putting them on my Etsy page, which I'll put the link down below. And some of my older style bags, which I will still be making, which is this version here. This is my Adipoise. Do you like it? Adipoise bag with Doctor Who on the inside. I love this fabric. I think these guys are so cute. But yeah, this is my standard bag. So it's got a box bottom and stands up. But yeah, this is my standard bag, and then this is my new design. So this one looks way smaller, but it's actually really big once you open it out. So I have some bags in my Etsy shop, and I have all my hand-dyed yarn in my Etsy shop. Now, I announced on my Instagram that that's going to be the last of my hand-dyed yarn. I will not be dyeing any more yarn in the future. If I do dye some, it will be for me only, or for friends. I won't be taking any orders for dyed yarn. And my reasoning behind that is because my shoulder. I know I keep harping on about this, but this is a big thing for me. My shoulder has been causing me so much problems for the last year. I've had my second steroid injection, and the shoulder specialist I was seeing, or am seeing, has made it clear that if this injection doesn't do the trick, my next route to look at is shoulder surgery, and I'm not taking that lightly at all. Surgery in my eyes is the last option because I am right-handed and it is my right shoulder. I would be out of work, I wouldn't be able to drive, I wouldn't be able to knit, I wouldn't be able to write. There's a lot of things I think you take for granted when you are right or left-handed. And if you have to stop using that hand or your arm in general, you kind of feel like you're up a creek without a paddle. Or at least that's how I feel, because I've learned that the hard way. I had to pretty much stop using my arm for a lot of things. Even sitting on the floor and then bracing yourself to get up. I was kind of like, how do I do this without using my right hand? And it took me a moment. It did take me a moment to kind of transfer that skill to my left hand. Now obviously it's not the end of the world. I could walk as much as I can. I can get public transport. I can try and become left-handed for the period that I needed to. I can still type with my left hand. I just wouldn't be able to drive my car. I would need a lot of help from family and my friends. I wouldn't be able to knit. I wouldn't be able to crochet. So the way I see it is giving up yarn dyeing was the right move, because when the yarn is wet, it weighs a lot. So lifting that out of the pot, it's quite a strenuous activity. And yes, I could do it with my left hand, but I'm programmed to do it with my right, and it would take a lot to reprogram myself to do it with my left hand. So long story short, if this injection doesn't work, I'm looking at shoulder surgery. But if I can do everything in my power to not need that surgery, I'm going to do it. So that involved having to give up yarn dyeing. It wasn't a choice I made lightly, but it was also a choice that I didn't have to think about too long before going, yep, that is totally the right choice for me. So yeah, I think that's the only life update I have. I went to the Christmas crafts fair yesterday at the Glasgow SCCC. Personally, I think the quality of the craft show is declining rapidly. If you rewind to about 7 or 8 years ago, the show was phenomenal. It was really, really good. The quality of the vendors, phenomenal. Couldn't fault it. Nowadays, I think it is terrible. I got some lovely fabric. I did meet some lovely vendors, but the quality of the vendors isn't as good as it was, and the size of the event, it's getting smaller and smaller each year. They're putting the prices up each year. And no, it's just not for me. I think I'm going to save my money up and stick with my usual retailers that I get my supplies from, whether that's the material for my sewing, for my bags, or the yarn that I use for my everyday projects. But that's just my opinion. You might go and absolutely love it. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. That's nearly 50 minutes, which I'm very surprised about, because I didn't think I had that much to talk about. If you've made it all the way through this kind of rambly, disjointed podcast of me in a onesie, then I applaud you and I thank you. Oh, one more thing, guys. I have a giveaway. Now I'm just going to bring up all the information so I don't get this wrong. I have a copy of the Yarnesty Cowl.lection to give away. Now, this is a cowl collection by the wonderful and very talented Anna Freeberg. For any of you that didn't meet her at Perth, she is an amazing designer. She has a whole host of exceptional designs. She does a lot of amazing socks. The Fergus socks is one of the ones I am going to have on my project list to do once I feel I can cast on more projects. But yes, I have a copy of the Cowl.lection to give away. So this is a collection of cowls that remind Anna of the places she's been, and also places that aren't well known within Sweden. And there's going to be 6 different patterns released between now and March. So there's one pattern out just now, and I'm going to butcher the name. I do apologise, Anna, but it's the Osterby cowl, or Osterby. Be Cowl. Again, totally butchering that. I do apologise. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm just reading to see if there's... Yeah, so the first pattern was released on September 25th, and between now and March there's going to be 6 patterns in total in this collection. So I will put a link to that in the comments and in the description box down below. But in order for you to be in with a chance of winning this, just pop a comment down below saying why you love wearing cowls so much, and what do you look for in a cowl? Do you look for something that's going to keep you warm, or do you feel it's more of a decorative thing? Are you more of a lace cowl, or are you more of like a garter stitch cowl? Pop a comment down below and I will pick a winner on the next podcast. But yeah, now I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Please feel free to find me on all the social media links down below in the description box, and I will see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.